I don't want to hear nobody jumping on the Rhaenys bandwagon now. Get up out my face. Do you guys want to know what season it is? It's Cape season, everybody. And I love it. Live by the Cape, die by the Cape. Also, I thought last episode was good. That one kicked me in the emotion balls. Oh yeah, I'm having more City Nerds. I didn't new subscribers. And Every Vampire is so good. House of the Dragon so good. I love all of it. So good. When they opened up with the throne empty and the Red Keep being empty and all of that, I was just like, oh, I love the way they're doing this and I love the way they're handling it and it's so beautifully done and I love it so much. Then we get the little boy spy, okay? Now, later on in the episode, tell me if I'm wrong. Not only do we have Fuck Up Foot acting a fool, but now we find out, and I liked them showing Alicent like looking like I'm still being used. I might not be, this is a really good example of, I might not be being attacked and assaulted in a way that you think, but I'm still being used this way, and see how I have all this power, I have all this rank, but I'm still being used in this in a sexual type of way, and it's messed up. So now you got foot fetish on top of mess up foot. But either way, he says something about the spies, and he says I didn't catch if he said he was working with this network of spies or that this network of spies was a threat, but either way, this network of spies, they're calling spiders, which later down the line, Varys gets called a spider, but who is sewing into their little embroidery thing? Helaena Targaryen, Princess Helaena, well now Queen Helaena, is in the back, and she's sewing a spider into it. So she's either working with them or straight running them. Well, I would say the White Worm is, but she's straight running it, or helping them a lot. And I'm like, oh, Helaena, secretly getting your digs in, and I love you for it. You can stay. All the other greens, get the fuck out. A few weeks ago, my mom had brought up, like, what if this woman dating Daemon ends up being related to Varys somehow? And I was like, oh wait, but then the character says I made it so that I couldn't have children. And then I was like, well, maybe she had a kid before that. And my mom went, oh no, I don't, maybe it's not that. Maybe she mentors somebody who mentors somebody else who eventually will mentor Varys. Now, I know Varys' backstory. I want them to do a Varys and Illyrio miniseries. I think that would be sick. Varys robbed people, and then Illyrio whooped their ass if they tried to test him or get it back, or they just were scared of him because he was so good with a sword. So that was like their thing. And then Varys realized, oh, their letters and what these rich people are saying to each other is worth more than gold. So we should just do that. But where did he get working with little birds from? Maybe it is somebody that mentors him or gives the secret connection of web of child spies to him eventually down the line, because this White Worm created it. And I'm like, maybe my mom was onto something. But rambling out of the way, okay? We have the empty throne room. We have the empty halls. We have the spy running to the other Talia, the other servant who wakes Alicent up. Now, I was like, oh, candle in the window. Candle in the window. We got a candle in the window, like Sansa does to tell Brienne. But I was like, oh no, that's super smart. I was like, we're going to tell that brothel. Because remember, at the end of the last episode, she's like, a lot of kerfuffle up at the... And everyone was making fun of me using the word kerfuffle. Like, my buddy at work called me out. They were like, spell it. I was like, Kerfuffle, right? But yeah, she's like, there's a kerfuffle up at the castle, huh? And the servant who's a handmaid to Queen Alicent, which is a pretty high up there working with somebody position, is like, yep, So we find out that there's this back and forth. And we get the opening of the... And I just love the beautiful scenery of it all being empty like that. Like, all the king's gone, and it's all dark and everything like that. And we get the spy going to tell the handmaid, and so now we know there's going to be some connections back and forth. But this whole episode, they don't want it getting out that the king's dead. Okay? They're trying to keep that on the low. They're trying to keep that hush-hush, and Otto's struggling with it. But here's where you lost me, Alicent. And then you won me back, and then you lost me again. Okay? Because how did anybody take that as Aegon should be on? Wouldn't you say Aegon on the throne? He was saying enough words. What? He talks about the North, he talks about, what are you talking, where did you get thrown out of that? I don't know. Either way, I get what you're doing here. You're trying to redeem her a little bit. Like when they had the entire small council, well, most of them, they were like, they've been conspiring to overthrow Rhaenyra for a minute, and I stand by this. Those Lannister twins, they're playing flip-flopsies. Sometimes it's one and sometimes it's the other. I do not believe that has been the same person at the small council meeting the entire time. We've been playing flip-flopsies with these Lannisters. But every time they said scheming, if you've played Final Fantasy X, when Seymour Guado says scheming, petty schemes, talking shit about the maesters, he's just like, you waste your days scheming petty schemes, and I'm over here being fabulous, and I want to become Zin.
trembling at unseen enemies, he spent his days scheming petty schemes, chased by his fears, never knowing rest.
It's just some Final Fantasy X humor for you guys. I have my whole Blitzball game on there. I haven't won Blitzball in 21 years. Why? Yeah, Alicent's pissed. She's pissed that the small council was doing this behind her back. And I liked that part. That part I all liked. I was like, okay, cool. Cool, I'm with this. But like I said, they don't want it getting out that the king's dead. So we lock all the servants up. And we have Fuck-Up-Foot creeping around there. Larry Strong, he's lurking about. Then later on in the episode, we have him lurking about. And remember the Lord I said that was staying respectful to Rhaenyra the whole time he was the one who popped off at the not the one who popped off at the council meeting. He's the one hanging later on in the episode, and he bends the knee, but he didn't really want to. He tried to get out the gate. That's the Lord I was talking about in my last review, where he was like, they made a point to have Lord Caswell always like saying like, "Hi, Princess Rhaenyra," and yada yada, and then remember he's one of the first people to say congrats on her baby and stuff. Like they always made a point to show him respecting Rhaenyra. So then he tries to get away. He doesn't. He's hanging. Yeah. Okay, so I said it like this in my last review, but my last review was super emotional and sad and long, and it took me forever. But either way, think of the American Civil War, okay? You kind of knew where you stood, just geographically. You know what I mean? It was north versus south. You kind of know what the dealio is with the people around you, right? That's not the case with the Dance of Dragons. With the Dance of Dragons, literally, just like how they showed throughout this episode, but imagine that on a huge scale. Your neighbor, the guy sitting next to you at the small council, doesn't feel the same as you. So this tears the country apart. Like, this civil war it messes things up, not just obviously for the royals, but for the small folk for years to come. Like, remember when Daenerys starts naming new people to things? Like, she allows, well, Gendry deserved it, but so that's not a good one, but, like Bronn getting Highgarden and stuff like that. Like, kings have the ability to do that, or queens have the ability to do that. So, guess what? If you weren't fighting on my side and I win, guess who's losing their castle? And probably their kids and their head. You. So that's how that works. And so it's like, we have a lot of that going on after this war takes place. So there's just a lot of conflict that happens because of this. Now I'm wondering if this is all going to come to a head, because remember when people are asking for Rhaenyra's hand and that little kid straight kills that other kid that's asking to marry her because he's talking smack? I kept saying this. I was like, you can't just off lords of houses, especially boys, dear God, don't let it be somebody with a wiener, and not have repercussions for it. So it's like, my heir went to go propose to Rhaenyra and got killed there. So they might feel a certain kind of way towards Rhaenyra. You get what I'm saying there? And then we have, because I was like, how come people aren't saying, like, these things would have a domino effect? And then in this one, we have Sir Criston bitch-ass Cole, bitch-made Cole, the Kingmaker, smashing that man's head in. I'm like, toxic. You are just the epitome of toxicity, sir. Cut the shit. But he smashes that old man's head in. Lord Beesbury gets his head smashed in. And then Otto Hightower, he's like, I won't even say Lord. He's like, yeah, keep the doors closed. And you can tell that really bugs the other dude at the table. Then we have, this is what I mean. Thank God we talked about Eric and Eric. Like, I don't know. I was talking about that in my last review. I was like, oh my God, now we're going to throw the twins in there. I appreciate it, but Jesus Christ. But either way, we got a lot of brother theme going on this episode. And I literally said this out loud, and my mom was like, oh yeah, and his eyes messed up too. I was just like, oh my God, I can't believe I didn't pick up on that. And I was just like, you know, this Aemond, he's growing on me with his Legolas ass hair, even though I already know Bud. But either way, he's giving off major Scar vibes from The Lion King. And then my mom's like, oh yeah, and his eyes messed up. I was like, I didn't even put that part in there. I feel like that is the difference between him and his brother, Aegon II, and Daemon and Viserys. Daemon and Viserys genuinely loved each other. They were brothers. They loved one another. These two, you gotta look out for Aemond, and Aegon's a little rapist, worse than we thought, piece of trash human. Oh, and we're feeding into his ego real bad. And it's like, no. Did you see how geeked he got when people were cheering for him? Gross. I'm getting all over the place, though. But I did like when Beesbury said, like, I knew Viserys longer than any of you turds, so I would know, and you're all full of it. And I did like Alicent saying, I know he wouldn't have wanted the murder of his daughter, and you're not going to sit here and tell me some other bullshit. But like I said, they did a really good job this episode, besides of it being just the best, because I love Rhaenys, and I love the Red Queen. I love them, they're my favorite, I was so happy. But either way, yeah, we have Alicent real mad at her dad, but we get to see, even though you're queen, like I was saying with Larys Strong being a foot fetish weirdo to her, she's still being used. And she realizes, like Cersei says, what good is power if we can't protect the ones we love? And it's like, I have this high position. I'm queen of the 7 kingdoms. What the fuck does that even mean, though? What does it even mean? Because I can't do shit, and I don't even have control over myself. So what is the good of this? But she's really trying to swing her weight around, and then I think it's really setting in with her that she doesn't really have power, and they've all been playing her like a fiddle and using her like a pawn. But I absolutely loved the Kingsguard stuff. Thank you. I loved that. I loved it so much when Beesbury gets his head smashed, and then for killing a lord, like I said, these would have ripple effects. So not only do people just feel morally like we should back Rhaenyra or back Aegon II, they're like, oh, remember we had this issue happen or that issue happen? Because do you think the house that just had their lord's head smashed in at a small council meeting is going to be quick to join Alicent's side? Probably not. Little Easter egg in the books, Robb Stark doesn't marry somebody from the East, he marries a Westerling. So either way, same family. But anyway, Lord Commander Westerling pulls his sword and is like, yeah, okay, it's on now, Sir Criston. And I did love this from the Sneaky Lannister when he just gets up and slime balls away out of frame. He's like, yeah, no, I don't want nothing to do with this fight. Yep, nope, bye. And then Sir Criston pulls his, and it's like the Old West. We have like a gunfight happening. We have like sword versus sword going on, and then Alicent tells Sir Criston, put your blade away. It's all good. It's all good. He's not talking smack. It's all good. And then we get the talk of treason. And when that happens, I loved when Lord Commander Westerling started taking his white cloak off and was like, yeah, when there's a king, hit me up. I don't listen to none of you shits. You ain't shit, Otto Hightower. You ain't shit, Alicent. You ain't shit. Call me when there's a king. And I loved that because I was saying earlier, I'm like, rarely, at least in Game of Thrones, and there isn't as much, so I'm not complaining or anything, but we definitely don't have an honorable Kingsguard in Game of Thrones. You know what I mean? We have Jaime and Creepo. Sir Meryn Trant, piece of shit. Seeing the Kingsguard the way they're supposed to be, well, kind of honorable and guarding the royal family, I really, and the meaning of that white cloak, and having even Sir Criston, after he sleeps with Rhaenyra, and he's like, I soiled my white cloak. Do you understand that? Like, having it be this huge thing, loved that. One thing I did have a problem with, you guys have not brought up Blackfire almost at all. The sword. And now you're name dropping it like people that aren't me and other freaks. Hello, other freaks. Here we are. You guys should have been hyping up how big of a deal that sword is if you wanted us to give a shit now, or was that just for book people? Anyway, just so you know, the sword that Aegon is shoving in the air at his coronation essentially causes a lot of strife for years to come. Like, if you're given that sword of Blackfire, it's the other Valyrian sword in the Targaryen family. It was Aegon, whatever. If you're given that sword, essentially it's like you are a ruler. So that's, like I've been saying about Masters of PR, there's a reason why Alicent was like, he's going to put on the Conqueror's crown. He's going to have Blackfire. But I'm like, you haven't really hyped Blackfire up, so regular people won't know the magnitude of that. But that's like nitpicky shit, you know? I'm just being like nitpicky. If you're gonna do more stuff down the line, you probably should have hyped up Blackfire, I'm just saying. Having somebody like really, really care about their white cloak and what that means, I just really loved that a lot. It really made me happy. Oh, they bring up Storm's End. That's why we have our Baratheon up, because Princess Rhaenys, why does that sound like a microwave? Princess Rhaenys is half Baratheon, half Targaryen, and I love her. She's my fave, and so is the Red Queen, Meleys, her dragon. But, they say that about her at the small council meeting. They're like, Storm's End, the Baratheons, they're kind of getting, we're having issues with them over there. We have concerns. And then it's like, okay, well now they're going to find out their cousin's been locked up by them. Who the hell? So are they going to be very happy? Probably not. We see Helaena, and she's been saying a lot of prophetic stuff. She's been saying a lot of fortune-tellery things. And we see her sewing, and she's talking about, it's as if she's talking to the nurse, the nanny who's with the kids. It's like she's talking to her, but I don't think she really is. And she says something along the lines, it's supposed to sound like sharing. And like tell the kids to share. And she's like, anytime somebody possesses something we don't have, I think it's in our nature to want it. Which, that's a huge metaphor for the Iron Throne, for the kids playing with blocks. And the nanny's like, okay, gotcha. And then we have Alicent come in. And I really liked this scene because Alicent knew what, like I said with Alicent and Helaena before, they want and just like somebody left a comment saying that Daemon doesn't talk to his daughters at all, and I'm like, I think they're trying to say something with that. Like they want Helaena and these other daughters to be a afterthought because that's how they're looked at in their family. And so I think that Alicent knows what it was queen. Now she's not, and her daughter is, but she knows what that entails, and she's repeating the same cycle of, well, I don't know of this patriarchal system with her own daughter, and so she's like looking at her longingly, like, I'm so sorry that this is all you are to them, like, I'm being used. And I loved her and Otto talking about that. I was like, oh, we're actually saying it now. Good job. Just like I was complaining in my last review where I was like, I don't know if you're trying to say something with this moon tea, because moon tea is like a prevalent thing in the books, and wildlings drink it like water. And they're like, yeah, no, we're straight, we're good. We don't know if we want to... They don't name their kids till they're 2, because they normally don't survive. So they have moon tea on deck. But these guys keep having characters stare at bottles full of it. Are you trying to say... I'm giving you the choice I didn't have? Are you trying to say... You guys don't have them saying any dialogue. Every character just stares at the bottle. So it's like, how... I need to know if they're conflicted by them saying it and saying that they feel conflicted, okay? But you're not doing that with that. So that's why I'm praising this, because you actually are saying it, and I really liked it. She straight up tells Otto, you used me. Now the one thing I'm asking of you, Dad, is not to murder Rhaenyra. Don't start a war. We know Daemon ain't gonna bend the knee. Please don't do this. And speaking of Scar and the Lion King, and I brought this up in my last review, but like I said, that one was super long and a lot. But I don't want to talk about child death and stuff. That's just sad to me. So, but it's a good way to explain this. When a pride of lions, when the male lion gets taken out by another male lion, the next thing it does is kill all of the cubs, because then it can have a pure bloodline to continue their bloodline, and it's okay for breeding. And yeah, now make that humans, because that's what happens when you start questioning monarchies and putting other people on thrones and stuff. I was saying that in my other reviews. I'm like, the magnitude of this needs to be established, and now they're establishing it. So I like that. But I did like Alicent saying, don't go do this. Please don't do this. Like, you're already taking it from her. Don't do this. And then I liked Otto saying, because of your husband or because of your friend. And it's like, fuck you, Dad. You just used your daughter, all gross. And I still stand by Otto's a weirdo. Every time he says, like, you look like your mother, like, stop saying that, you creep, you cretin. I don't like that. Because when does he... Oh, that's when Westerling takes his cloak off, is after Otto Hightower's like, go to Dragonstone, be quick, be clean. And that's what he's saying. He's saying, go kill her, kill Daemon, kill their kids. That's what you're gonna do. And so we're safe. And yeah, gross. We're trying to keep the king's death a secret, and we're trying to find Aegon II. Now, I don't recall this being a detail in the book, or any of them, so I think this is something they made for the show, but it was a good way. I thought they did a very good job with this. They go looking for Aegon, and we find this child fight club with filed teeth and grown nails, and that it's dogfighting with children, and we end up finding out, the White Worm says, and worse, and it's pretty disturbing. But I thought that was a really smart and good way to show, because that's what I was saying. I'm like, this story's so intimate and not like Game of Thrones where we're all over the place and seeing all these different things. And we always knew Flea Bottom was like the worst of the worst in King's Landing, but now we really see like some of the underground stuff that goes down, and you feel me? And it's like fighting pits are a known thing in the East still. Like, they're like gladiators, but children, that's pretty brutal. But this intimate story is kept to the Red Keep, and it's kept to the throne room, and it's kept to Dragonstone, and we haven't really interacted with the common folk very much. And then showing that gets across to the audience real quick. Gross, bad, evil, unexcusable. Stop that. But we haven't seen like brutality like they do in Game of Thrones more often. Well, they did more often to remind us with the small folk. And in this, it will be like, oh yeah, yeah, and then we're like, crab feeder stuff. Oh man, that's really rough. Then it's like, oh yeah, dragons, oh yeah, who do we like? Who do we not like? Oh, they're scumbag. And then it's like, oh, child fighting pits with filed teeth. And then we find out that this piece of shit has a bastard son there that he allows to participate in that. And smart to do. Smart saying, way to make us hate this guy. On top of being a little raper piece of shit, we got you fucking gambling at goddamn child fight clubs, you piece of shit. The boys used to box in the front yard all the time. Why are, out of all the, everybody's been so smart about their PR moves. Everybody's been masters of PR. Well, Damon has been a super master of PR. Alicent's really kind of getting good at it. But why are we fighting in front of the Sept, where everyone can see us? Stop doing that. But either way, we got the two twins on the Kingsguard, Eric and Eric, running around. One of them knows where Aegon hangs out. Aemond and Kristen, they go running around the town, and first he says, and I was like, oh, so you're not, so yeah, your brother's a fucking weirdo. And he says, now the Street of Silk is like the red light district. So he says, when I turned 13, my brother took me here and took me to the Street of Silk and said that now I had to become a man, and it's like, okay. And then he even, what does he say? He says, to be as good at it as he is, and it's like, they're not that far apart. So how long have you been... It's just supposed to reiterate to the audience, like, he's been assaulting women for a very, very long time, Aegon II. But they go to the brothel. And I kind of liked that they insinuated that the sex worker who answers the door is the one who hooked up with Aemond. Or maybe she just runs it. But either way, I liked when she was like, look how much you've grown. And I think that maybe Aemond is so... Aemond gives off the vibe that the only thing he cares about is hurting another human being. And that's it. But then we have him saying, like, I'm wise and I read and all this stuff. And I'm like, do you? Because it seems like you just really like hurting people. But now after that little back and forth, he seems like really not about it when she says that. Even though she's saying it in, like, a joking way. He seems like... So maybe that was traumatic for him because he was fucking teen. You know what I'm saying? But we have these two and these two looking for Aegon II. We find the Child Fight Club. Disturbing. Then we get another little girl. Well, yeah, she's a little girl. It's like a teenage girl, right? She comes up, and she's like, hey, I got someone that knows where your boy is. But you're going to have to pay. And, by the way, she ain't going to talk to none of you. You need to bring the hand of the king. And they're like, that ain't going to happen. And she's like, I think it will. They bring up the bastard at the fighting club, and he says, oh, yeah, so he's got a bastard, and then he's like, yeah, probably one of many. Like, this guy's just the worst, you know what I mean? But they go to the Great Sept, and he's in the middle, under the altar, and they drag him out. And we have the White Worm, which is Massaria, which is the lady I was saying maybe she wouldn't be a mentor to Varys, but somebody down the line, maybe this little girl that found them becomes the next White Worm, and so on and so forth. And somebody eventually is going to have, just like how when Varys leaves, Qyburn, my boy, takes over his spy network. That's what I'm saying here. So either he was mentored by, or given this network of spies by whoever the previous White Worm was when he got there. You get what I'm saying? Like, something. But my mom called that out, not me. But I loved her. And she's been killing it. Every line this woman has had has been amazing. Okay? Back when she was telling Daemon, like, man, I did not sign up for this, you turd. You can mess around with kings all day. I do, and I lose my head. So I love her coming back to King's Landing and having all this go down. I really do. She tells them, I'll give you Aegon II. But what you gotta do, pay me, and you're gonna shut down these child fighting pits. Now, is that the building that was burning at the end? I'm assuming it was. And Larys made that happen. That's what makes me think even more, like, okay, yeah, no, somehow either Varys was mentored by one of these kids that eventually, down the line, was a part of this, or he meets a different White Worm and gets this spy network, because they all seem to have a soft spot for kids being okay and looked out for, and I liked that. And it's nice to see in this world, but my favorite part was when she said, my condolences, because nobody's supposed to know about the king being dead, and she knows both. She knows where Aegon II is, and she knows the king's dead, and that's what makes Otto shook. He's like, are you serious right now? Pay them. Where's he at? What I liked even more was when she was like, remember who it was that put him on the throne. Remember that I could have slit his throat in the street. Remember that I could have done whatever. He was in Flea Bottom. We could have done anything we wanted with him, but I didn't. So remember who it is that made him king. I really liked it. That was really cool. We have all the lords that he's got around, and he's like, hey, yeah, you need to bend the knee, and if not, whatevs. And we see the ones that won't bend the knee, they get dragged off. And then we have, Lord Beesbury got his head smashed in. Lord Caswell, who's been nice to Rhaenyra and respectful to Rhaenyra this whole time, he lies, and he tries to get out, and then he can't, and we see him hanging later. But the best parts of this episode all had Rhaenys in them, and I loved it. But her and Alicent's back and forth of exactly what I've been saying, where I'm like, That's the difference and where the resentment for Rhaenyra comes in with Alicent. She is okay with, she's not okay with, but she's accepting the fact that she is a cog in this patriarchy machine. And she's like, Rhaenyra, just stop, just go with the flow, just do what they tell you, just don't buck the system. And Rhaenyra does. And I think that adds to the resentment that Alicent had towards her. And now it's too late and shit's hitting the fan. You feel me? But Rhaenys talking to Alicent and outright saying that shit, that's what I mean. When I bring up bottle staring and stuff like that, I'm like, we can come to our own conclusion in our heads with things, but unless they say things, we can't definitively say that's what it is. We can take it at our own way, whatever it is in any story, but unless you say them. And when she was like, oh, yeah, okay. At first you kind of had me, but let me tell you, once again, like I said, I think that Rhaenys was genuinely sympathetic to Corlys's younger brother until he started shit-talking Corlys. Once again, go back and rewatch it. Rhaenys is listening and is like, okay, whatever, until Alicent says, your daughter died, your son got cuckolded, which, way to use the word correctly, and your husband left you. And then all of a sudden Rhaenys is like, bring up Corlys again, motherfucker. You can see it in her eyes. She's like, don't shit-talk me and the man I love. Like, I ain't having that shit. That pissed her off, I think. And then we have Alicent saying, we might not be able to rule. Let's be real. You should have been queen. And this episode completely proves that, where she was sterner than Viserys, and she had the complete ability to do what Cersei did. And I said that right before it happened. I was like, dude, pull up on your dragon and pull a Cersei. And then she didn't pull a Cersei, showing the restraint that Daenerys couldn't show, that Cersei couldn't show. Rhaenys showed that shit, but also was like, I could if I wanted to. And that just proving even more to the audience, this could have been an amazing ruler, and none of this would have happened if you just would have let ladies inherit. I have a whole video about it. She says, Alicent Hightower, and yet you toil still in service to men, your father, your husband, and now your son. You desire not to be free, but to create a wall in your prison. And I'm like, that's it! That's it, Rhaenys! That's exactly what I've been saying! It's like, no, you are totally complacent in this. You are not helping move things forward, asshole. Shut up. Shut up. Yeah, guide your son. Guide your son all the way to raping ladies left, right, and center and having his kid stuck in a fight club. Great way to guide, fucker. And your other one is a sociopath, okay? And then your daughter is secretly working with a spy network. You did a good job. I don't mean to shit-talk Alicent. Yes, fuck the Greens. I don't care. This is Abby rant time. Whatever. I have my favesies and I don't have my favesies. And if you don't make it to the favesies list, it is. If you like the Greens, that's okay. You're still welcome to. I just get animated. But no, that whole back and forth was great. It was so good. It was so good. And I loved it because I was like, my favorite character. My favorite character just said the theme in a great way that I've been talking about this entire time, where it's like, no, I'm not going to be complacent in it. I'm not going to be a part of your fucked up system. I'm going to buck this system, and I don't give a shit. And I loved that. And like I said, we get to see her show that restraint. But either way, we will get to that. Got a lot of brother stuff happening. So we have one Eric leaving the other Eric behind. We have Aemond, One Eye, trying to fight and drag his brother, Aegon II, who's repeatedly yelling, I don't want to rule. We're all fighting in the streets, by the way. We're all you better have your hoods on. Unless we are in front of an entirely huge public platform that everybody goes to, then let's brawl it out. Are you out of your minds? Calm it down. You should have went somewhere else. That's what everyone should have been saying. But either way, I really love that scene. Choreographed-wise, I loved one coming down one stairwell, one coming down the other. It was really symbolic and cool. But we have Aemond saying how he'd be a better ruler. And like I said, that's the difference between Aemond and Aegon and Viserys and Daemon, is that those two were actual loving brothers. These two are not. And Aemond doesn't kill him here, but I think it's because you're right in front of the sept. But I think if they would have been alone, it would have gone down. I definitely do, where I don't think Viserys and Daemon would do that to one another. When Otto and Alicent are arguing about everything, and that's what she's saying, don't slaughter Rhaenyra and her children. Please don't do that. And guess what? I was used by you, gross, nasty, and then she's like, that's why the coronation gets rushed so fast for her son. So she's like, that's why she cuts him off and is like, listen, if you do this for me, we'll have his coronation tomorrow. We'll declare him this. We'll put the Conqueror's fucking crown on him. And a little too Sauron-y for my liking, but I still liked it because it's Valyrian steel. But either way, we'll put the fucking Aegon the Conqueror's crown on him. So big deal, big PR move there. That's a big thing. This is the next Aegon after the Conqueror to ever rule. So people are like, oh, we really like that name. And then it's like, oh, we're putting the Conqueror's fucking crown on him. Oh, remember? And then she's like, and we'll give him Blackfire. And like I said, the Blackfire sword is a big Z deal. But we don't need to get into all that now. Just essentially, whoever carries Blackfire, a lot of people are like, oh yeah, that means they're the rightful heir because that's just how it is. I don't know. But either way, it's a big thing. Guess what? Who's the only Targaryen to ever own and wield both ancestral Valyrian blades? Both Dark Sister and Blackfire. Oh wait, who is it? My favesies, Maegor the Cruel. One he just hung on the wall for fun. One he was just like, Dark Sister, you look good up there. But Blackfire you would carry, because Blackfire was symbolically a bigger deal to people. You feel me? You get what I'm saying? But he was the only one to ever have both. Anyway. So we have the coronation going down, right? Prior to this, the one twin in this Kingsguard is cool with everything, and one is not. And the one that is not snatches up Rhaenys and it's like, let's get out of here. Notice again, are you a sheep? No, you're a dragon. Be a dragon. When she goes past the skull of Balerion the Dread, she stops and looks at it, and I think that's when she makes her choice of, and that's where Daenerys couldn't. I always loved Emilia Clarke's acting in that scene. Because when she looks at the Red Keep, that's the second I knew it was Snapville. I was like, oh shit, she's pissed, it's going down. Because the way she looks at the Red Keep is like, I'm gonna lose my shit. That's mine, my family built it, that whole thing. So it's like Rhaenys had a similar thing just then of like, I remember who I am, I remember what I am, let's go. And she keeps telling him, get me to the dragon pit. And he's like, we can't risk that, we can't risk that. And then we have the whole town, and like I said, PR moves. You want the public to see things, and that's why there's tradition and all this shit, you know what I'm saying? But having him kneel down, like the head of the church always put the crown on the king's head, and that was to make the people happy when the Targaryens first conquered. They were like, you wanna know what? We're still gonna marry our siblings, because nobody else is allowed to do that. To everybody else, that's blasphemy. That's gross, that's an abomination. But the Targaryens were like, we're gonna keep banging each other, and by the way, I'm gonna take 2 wives, and we can do that in Old Valyria, and you guys don't allow that, but we do what we want, because we have dragons. And they're like, okay, for you guys, it's okay. So Aegon the Conqueror kind of just made it cool with the church so that the common folk were cool. And that's what I was trying to say in my last review of like, when people have something to put hope in and whatever, like it's a thing. And so then you need to use it and wield it the correct way. It's a lot of power. And like I said, having it at the Sept with all of the common folk running in to see it. And then we're doing this big display and he has the Conqueror's crown on and he's waving Blackfire in the air. And you see the way that little shit got all geeked when people were cheering for him, and I'm like, oh good, let's add to the creepy rapist's fucking ego. Let's do that, because he's really loving it up there, and I really hate him. Okay, the word imbecile is not used nearly enough. When Omari calls people an imbecile at work, it is my favorite thing, and then I realized how much Walter White used it, and I'm like, oh my god, imbecile is a great word. When Alicent calls Aegon an imbecile, I loved it, but it's just because she's saying, of course I love you. Look at everything I'm doing. I protect you, and don't tell people about your rapey ways, you piece of shit. Of course I love you. I'm your mom. But I really liked their ride to the Sept. Of course, he's still being a little whiny bitch, but he's like, he didn't like me. Aegon is fully aware that his dad did not want him to be king. And Alicent, like I said, I don't know where you put him on the throne from that. Because like I said, I liked the idea of like, you gave both these women purpose of this prophecy, but instead she took it as, put Aegon on the throne? You were talking about the North. Why don't you give him Winterfell? Like, I don't know. That was the only time in this show that I'm not nitpicking. That part I'm complaining about. That part I'm saying is narratively bad. Okay? And everyone says I hate this show in the comments anyway. Besides the Penguin Game. What's up? Like, I've never like straight shit talked it, but that all shit talk. I'm like that's not what I got out of that. I don't know. If somebody was like, the North, prophecies, Aegon, I'd be like, you're losing it. You're about to die. You've been looking rough for years. I wouldn't be going like, put our son on the throne? That's what you said? No, what? Like, I'm sorry, that part was weird to me. Aegon saying how his dad never even liked him. Stop crying. Your life could be a lot worse. You rape ladies. You hurt kids. Nobody likes you. You scumbag, okay? Put Legolas One Eye on the throne. I don't know. Him and Daemon are too much alike. Either way, fuck them all. Fuck the Greens. No, ain't nobody got time for that. I really liked Alicent and Aegon's ride together, even though I hate Aegon, but I did like him saying, like, Dad didn't like me. Do you even love me? And I'm just like, wow, what a whiny little brat. Like, that's what he is. He's a whiny, rapey little brat, and he's horrible. At least Joffrey was fun to watch. You know what I'm saying? Like, Joffrey's fun to watch. He's an ass, but he's fun to watch. This guy ain't fun to watch. He's just terrible. Of the crowd getting wild, and Rhaenys gets separated, right? notice. Like I said, Daenerys snaps when she sees the Red Keep. Cersei, she don't give a shit. You know, Rhaenys doesn't leave the crowd to do what she does until she sees that kid up there and they have the Conqueror's crown and they have the sword and she's like, yeah, no. Yeah, no. Yeah, no. I think she would have done either. She could have just left a different way. You guys realize that, right? Like, Rhaenys could have just dipped out. No, she was saying like, oh, remember me? Hi. Here to fuck your day up. So we are now all anti-Otto Hightower. You are not Tywin. Sit down. Stop trying to be. And we're all anti-Otto and anti-Fuck-Up-Foot over here. But, oh, and anti-Aegon II. And Alicent, you're kind of in the middle, but I still don't like you. And your son's the worst. And Aemond, I like watching you. But Helaena, you can stay. That's how I feel about the Greens. But either way, tell me what you thought about this episode down below in the comments. I'm Abby with Motor City Nerds. Comment, subscribe, hi to the new subscribers. Welcome. Tomorrow, Interview with a Vampire review goes up. We have the Anne Rice. Dude, everybody tweet the Anne Riceverse. Or the Riceverse. I don't like the Immortal Universe. It's stupid. But either way, I'm on OF. I'm on... What else am I on? Twitter, Instagram. I don't know. They're all below. But either way, it's Cape season. Rhaenys just popped out of the ground on a dragon. And I don't know. If I missed things, let me know. Maybe I'll do like a more in-depth thing. Oh, or maybe we'll react to next week. Oh, go check out Talking Nerdy. They were somebody sent me their channel and they're like, hey, yeah, check it out. And they were cracking me up. And a lot of their opinions are different from mine. But either way, like, they were really nice in the comments.